I'm actually going to be speaking at a conference this year. I know there's not very many conferences that are going on this year, and so I have the leader of the conference, the organizer here, Anthony from 21 Convention here, and I figured we'd just talk about the conference, let you guys know about this because this is a really cool event. You know, I actually spent the last week or so binge watching so many of the conference talks from the previous years. I didn't realize how many there were. I mean, it's crazy. There's like so many talks, so many good people. You know, so many like guys that I had known. I didn't realize. Oh wow, these guys spoke at 21 Convention. They had great talks there. So welcome, Anthony.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here and back on the show with you. Oh, we did one
Yeah.
last year, I guess, but whatever. It'll be the first time people see us.
Yeah. My editor had a little bit of a problem with the file, but I was trying to record it in Skype, I think, and it's
Yeah,
like now
I was
you know
having
the
deja
glitches
vu.
there.
I was like, haven't I talked to this guy before? But like, there's no
Yeah,
video. I'm like, what the fuck happened? But yeah,
yeah.
I really appreciate you having me
But
on, man. Good stuff.
yeah. So maybe let's start off just by talking about I think what 21
Mm,
Convention is, and you know how you got started because this is I mean this has been
sure.
going on for a long time. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's our 14-year anniversary. It just passed the 14-year mark when I started organizing the conference about a month ago, July like 20th, I think.
mhm.
And yeah, before we even get into the history of it, you mentioned there's so many speeches and speakers, and that's true. And a lot of people don't understand that because they're new to the channel. We gain subscribers all the time. We've been on YouTube since 2007 July, so a long time. And people subscribe and they watch maybe like you're going through it, and the more you go through it, you're like, holy crap, it's this huge library. And yeah, we have I think about 160 alumni speakers. So it's
Wow.
massive. I mean, guys like all these YouTubers and authors and entrepreneurs. So it's wild. And then the speeches, I don't even know. Probably like uh, 300 or something like that. I mean, it's plus podcasts and interviews. So it's a really massive library of stuff. And like TED Talks, even though I don't like most all their feminist globalist garbage that they're very much in favor of, we're very much like TED in that we publish all the speeches for free, pretty much free to the
Yep.
world on YouTube. And I love doing that. It's a big part of it since the beginning too, since day one. When I started the company, actually in the conference, I was in the pickup artist community then, that wing of the manosphere, and I was very annoyed as a young man. I was 17 when I started organizing it, and I was a broke college kid. I just got out of high school. I was working at Sears selling TVs, and I hated that all these products from guys I liked, they were just ridiculously priced. Like there's
Mhm.
zero fucking way you could afford this $700 DVD set. I mean, it was just
Right.
ridiculous. I mean, at that age, I mean, this is 2006 too. Like this is a lot of money back then. It still is now,
Yeah.
but I mean, back then, I mean, gold was $200 an ounce in 2000, so it's like it's a lot of money back then, and it just was horrible. And then you had to torrent it, and you felt bad. I even apologized to a guy later on who became a speaker. I was like, I used to torrent your shit when I was a kid. Hypnotica, if
Yeah.
any of you guys know him, Eric Lancito. Anyway, yeah, the conference, man, I've done it for so long now, 14 years. It's been my life's mission. It's been evolving with me over time in many different ways. It actually started as a conference and a meetup. It didn't even start as a conference. It started as a meetup group, is what it was supposed to be. Just like a meetup where we got together as young men and then went to pick up chicks. And I put that idea out for young men in the pickup artist community because I was young. I was 17 at the time. And guys just went nuts. They were like, oh, it's awesome. Let's do it. Let's all go to Orlando. We'll go to like theme parks and shit. We'll pick up, tourist girls and shit. And everyone was like, rah, rah, rah. This was on the Mystery
Yeah.
Method forums, that Mystery, from the game and stuff, the TV show, that he had just recently left. Him and the other founder had like a falling out. Anyway, I started announcing it there, and people went nuts, and it just went viral throughout the manosphere at that time, the pickup artist wing of it. And before I knew it, though, guys were making suggestions. They're like, "Hey, if we're gonna get together, like maybe you should just get a hotel conference room, and you can get some speakers that can talk to the guys." And I was like 17. I was like, "Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Like, why not? Let's do it." And
Right.
not knowing anything about how to do a conference or any kind of meetup like that, but I was like, it can't be that hard. And before I knew it, it organically grew into this actual 2-day conference, 2.5 day really. And yeah, we came together a year later. And even the year later thing, that was just July 2007 was when it started actually. And even that was just kind of winging it. I was like, all right, 1 year should be enough times, by a mile to do a conference. And that was the Under 21 convention that happened finally in July 2007 for young men. Although the average age was probably like 21, 22, 23, somewhere in that range. Most guys were older than me that attended. And some guys were in the 30s and 40s, and even one guy like in his early 60s. So it was from the beginning, it was actually kind of diverse into the guys that showed up. And a lot of people say that it was only pickup focused, and that wasn't true. It's always been at least from the start, first couple of years, it was heavily, picking up women focused. But even at the first conference, there was a whole speech on basically strength training, high intensity training, and fashion and style. So even from day one, there's been a little bit of comprehensiveness to the focus of the speakers, and
Mhm.
that was like a seed that grew over time. And talking to girls, picking up girls, approaching women, seduction, sex, all these things, that's still a big focus. But the conference for a decade now has been very comprehensive for men. And we have all these amazing speakers, medical doctors, Navy SEALs, FBI agents, psychologists, clinical psychologists, marriage and family therapists, exercise physiologists, astrophysicists from Harvard and shit. Like the actual lineup of speakers and you put all together is in total is just nuts. And I'm really proud of it, and it's amazing. As far as I know, it's the best conference in the world for men of this type, comprehensive kind of gathering of these leaders. There's nothing else like it that no one's doing that. There's a couple little things, but they're always more focused on a specific topic. There's like StyleCon, I think, or something like that. I don't know what they
Yeah.
call it. I'm influential. I have
Yeah.
friends that do events like FOE, Fraternity of Excellence. They do a meetup, but it's only for their community though. Like you can't, it's like a general thing that people can go to. So this is like TED for men, and minus the feminist garbage and stuff. And now we have a fatherhood event. We have a women's event. We still have the young men's event, although we don't do it very often. The last time we did it was 2016. It's just really hard to put a conference together for guys who are like 20, in terms of when they need flights and shit like that. But yeah, I love it, man. It's my life's work, and it's. You asked about the mission too, and I would say the mission of it is the positive future of men, boys, and fathers,
Mhm.
specifically through the method of these really amazing conventions, and then all the video production that comes from that we can then publish on the internet. And over the past year and a half, too, I've finally, and I probably should have done this sooner as an entrepreneur, but I've opened up the floodgates, so to speak, and allowing speakers to publish the content. Because for the
Okay.
past
Yeah.
12 years before that, I didn't allow that. We had to publish it basically, and you could just like share it. But I started letting guys, these other speakers that had big networks like Elliot Hulse and Stefan Molyneux, before he got kicked off YouTube, publish the talks, and that's been awesome seeing that. Even monitoring kicked off recently sucks, but Elliot still publishes our content when it's of him and his father and stuff, who's also a speaker. All these speakers, that have big YouTube channels, 100,000 followers, 200,000, whatever. So it's really cool to see that, especially in the age of censorship, where people like Molyneux, Stefan Molyneux, are getting picked off left and right. So it basically makes the video speeches not only reach a much bigger audience because now we publish it and the speaker, but now it's kind of censorship resistant because even though Molyneux got kicked off YouTube, we still have content of him that's on YouTube and does pretty well. So it's been a lot of fun doing that too. Past year and a half, we started doing that. It's kind of
Yeah. It's
rambling as
awesome.
fuck, but yeah,
No, no, it's good. I think to hear the history and like how you got
yeah,
started with it, and just like I mean, I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is it's like I mean, this has like been your life's work, right? It's like since you were you know it's so young, and then you've done it for this long, and I really like just like how dynamic it is, right? Because I feel like a lot of and this is one thing that appealed to me is like a lot of the men's groups and kind of communities we have like factions and stuff, they're very much like one dimensional in the sense that like what I feel like with 21 conventions, you've got guys that have completely different viewpoints on life, right? We share something in common. We're against feminism. We're supporting men, but
mhm,
you've got some guys that maybe are more on the MGTOW side, and
yep,
you've got guys that are more on the patriarchy and family. Maybe
yep,
you'd say tradcon type of guys, and then you've got so this whole mix, which is really cool because I feel like there's so much division. I'd like to see more unification because it's like, yeah,
yes,
we're going to disagree about things, but hey, let's hear all the perspectives. Let's hear all these different guys because I pick up something from this guy. I pick up something
yep,
from this person, and I feel like that's a really good thing to have, for
yes,
men, uh, rather than like getting into like it's almost like some of the like sub factions almost become cults, and that's not good. Like we need to
yeah,
like
I
expand. You know
agree.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and cult or not, I support that, and a couple speakers do, like Pat Stedman and Socrates. They go after these miniature groups. But the cult stuff aside, what I
Mm,
think you're referring to more broadly is that these groups or individuals pigeonhole themselves,
mm,
and that could be even something as big as MGTOW or men's rights activist or pickup artist and the Red Pill. These four major factions of the manosphere, they fight among each other a lot,
yeah.
and that's not good. I mean, some of it's natural, like men being competitive and combative with each other a little bit, but it goes too far sometimes, and that's not good. And I do think the manosphere is moving in a more unified direction, and I'm actively promoting that. I think it's a very healthy thing for the manosphere itself, for everyone involved. We all have common enemies. I mean, every single group in the manosphere, these four, are hated universally by the woke left, by feminists, by all
Right.
this crap. They hate it. They really, really hate it. They don't like it. And I think if the Trump MAGA stuff wasn't going on, they would focus a lot more heavily on us to censor us
Yeah.
and ban us and stuff. I think they're actually those guys are actually drawing fire from attention basically from us, and which is good because we can keep building in the meantime. But I 100% agree with the diversity of thought and ideas and the speakers. And you do see that. It's really what the woke left and these feminists talk about. They always talk about diversity is our strength, diversity is our strength, all this crap. But the reality is it's clown world, so it's the opposite. They hate diversity,
Exactly.
any kind of real diversity of opinion and thought and philosophy and beliefs. And the minute they sniff that, they go nuts and they call you a Nazi and all this crap, all this garbage. It's nonsense. But we really do have a legitimate diversity at the event that is very healthy and positive. And that's exactly what we're talking about. These different communities and speakers come together that don't agree on everything. I mean, we have multiple conferences going on for
Mhm.
different demographics completely. There's one for men, one for fathers, and one for women. And then inside each one, I mean, especially between the conferences, like the patriarch one is much more fatherhood and family focused. The one for men is much broader than that, for all men of all ages. Whether or not you want to start a family in the immediate future or whatever doesn't really matter. There is MGTOW speakers and pickup artist speakers and all these things. So, but we do have like common values and a common, I think, positivity for like all men and fathers. No one, even the most hardcore pickup artist, I don't think he likes seeing young boys in school get fed pills all day and told he's a
Correct.
toxic little kid. Because you were that kid once too. You don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to see
Exactly.
that. Even if I don't know some kid, or you see a father get divorce raped, no one wants to see that shit.
Right.
So it's good that it's coming together, and I think it's really important. And if we keep, chipping away at everything and building audiences and content, that I think can change the course of American history. It can influence culture in a really positive way. Whether it's the family stuff or the masculinity stuff, or even now that we're going to make women great again, it's all a really good thing. I think the manosphere is the real counterculture in America. Some of these
Yeah.
big YouTubers like Paul Joseph Watson, these guys say that conservatism is the new counterculture. I guess, but it's not. That's like almost strictly political, and there's some
Right.
family stuff with that sometimes, but that's not enough to push back on the absolute insanity that we see in clown world today with all this stuff, from sugar baby stuff to the thought culture and the total collapse of family. I mean, look at the black community. Like single motherhood is like 70-75% now. Like
Right.
holy shit.
Exactly.
And that's coming for all of us except the Asians pretty much. The Asians have like 16%, but the whites and Hispanics are like at 40%. In America, it sucks. And we're all heading that direction, and it's all fucking toxic and bad for kids, for men, for women, for the country, for everybody. And it all comes
Y-
back to masculinity and femininity. So
Yeah.
manosphere is
Yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, the biggest, problems that we have in society today is because we have weak men. And, it's just like, Stefan uh, Arnio, right?
Yeah,
Rest in peace. But he wrote that book, and, from that famous poem of, the hard times create strong men, and, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. And it's
yeah,
like we're feeling the pain right now because we've had good times and we have a lot of weak men, and
yep,
we got to make men strong again if we're going to turn things
yeah.
around. So
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, I think, that is repeating throughout history, and now we're hitting like a bad stride of it, so it sucks. I don't like the cycle in general, although I think it's accurate, and I hope that
right.
that humanity, so to speak, can break out of that somehow. Maybe through technology and education and free speech and these things, like videos and books and things, not getting burned and destroyed, can last over a long period of time, and hopefully make something a lot better and more durable. And I think that'd be really great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
golden
I
age.
see. Yeah, I see kind of opportunity in it too, though. I think because you have those cycles, it's like a reset. It's almost like young men
Yeah,
today don't realize that. I mean, you could look at it as a young man today, I think, and say, "Oh, things are bad." Yeah, everyone's feminist, toxic masculinity, all this kind of stuff. But you can also look at it, and what I encourage a lot of young men to look at it is, hey, if everyone else is a pussy and you're not, like that it's easier now than it was 50 years ago to be a
stand
strong
out.
man, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah,
and women appreciate that. Women can't find strong men, right? So you can be a leader. Like you have an opportunity here,
yeah,
whereas when there was a lot more competition, maybe it was a lot harder. So you can look at it both ways, but I think that
yeah.
we're definitely need to get the cycle kicked up again and get a lot more strong men again.
I think a
So
positive outlook, like you're saying too, is important because you can look at it either way. You can have a positive outlook, or you can be like, "Oh, the sky's falling. We're fucking doomed. Enjoy the
yeah,
decline. Enjoy the." Now we're not even in decline anymore. Now we're in collapse. So it's like, what is it? Enjoy the collapse. Enjoy your
right.
neighborhood burning down. Like, holy shit, no. But I do think there's opportunity too, and that's a good way to put it, opportunity. Because if you look at, like, for example, I was talking the other day with another guy, Steve Burley from Studio Burley on YouTube, this YouTuber,
Mhm.
and I was talking about basically how Trump has expanded the Overton window for acceptable discourse and dialogue on a lot of topics by being this bombastic kind of hard ass before he was elected, and then especially as he campaigned, and then now as president, he just keeps saying stuff, whatever he wants. And a lot of people get upset about that. Some people love it, like me. There's all kinds of opinions on it. But what he is doing is, I think, giving other guys, other men and leaders and authors and stuff like us that have audiences and whatnot, he's opening basically the Overton window to talk about things like how stupid feminism is, how
Yeah,
good fatherhood is, how, destructive single motherhood is for children, and things. There's a million issues we could talk about, right, in the manosphere. But the more he does that in politics, it gives us an opportunity to also, it's increasing our opportunity to talk about these issues to the extent we don't get kicked off the internet. And that's really, I
exactly.
think, really good. People, because what he talks about is so controversial. He just pisses everyone off. I'm gonna hit the nuke. Your nuke button, stupid, on Twitter. He says to some world leader, right? Everyone
Yeah,
just loses their mind. But then I
exactly.
can be like, but then as a, as a entrepreneur, I can give a speech and I can be like, hey, feminism is super toxic and it's a hateful supremacist movement. And compared to him talking about nuke buttons, that's not that bad. Like, so
Right.
he kind of primes everyone, I think, primes. He gives us an opportunity basically to combat feminism and to promote very strong ideas, positive masculinity and even femininity in these things now. Like, make women great again. Like, he set the stage for that. If he didn't do his thing, this wouldn't make sense to people and it wouldn't really be a thing. So
Yeah, no,
it's awesome.
I think that's very true. And it's interesting because, the extreme left has used this tactic
Hmm.
for a long time because at 20 years ago, if you called someone racist, those were fighting words. Like you don't just throw around calling people racist,
That's right.
but they've made it so that it's like it's so easy to say now, and it's acceptable to call people racist for no reason, and so they've done the exact same thing. They've opened up that window, and for a
Yep.
long time we were just sitting there taking the punches because we couldn't talk back because it was unacceptable. And now
Yep.
that you have someone who's a world figure leader and you
Yep.
you have this momentum going this direction saying, hey, wait a minute, let's push against this political correctness. This is kind of some bullshit he's calling it. It's like the emperor wearing no clothes, right? It's like
Yeah.
now, once someone has called it out and they're in enough of a position of power, then you can now it's a little bit easier for all of us to say it, and we gain that momentum, and it's yeah. So
Another word they've done that with is socialist. Bernie Sanders as a presidential candidate, I think twice in a row, 2016 and 2020, he was saying he's a Democrat socialist or whatever way he wanted to spin it. But I think in the 90s, for example, when I was growing up, that would have been much more controversial than it was when he was saying it. And I think the woke
yeah,
left, the awakening in 2013, and then Barack Obama being president, set the stage for that to be an acceptable position to take, at least in their party, in the Democratic Party, which is not good. I mean, maybe that'll destroy the party. Okay, whatever. Ha ha ha. But the fact that he could actually get on a major stage in front of mainstream news and say that with a straight face, that's a problem. And that's over
yeah,
into window stuff that was set for him. So it's the same thing for us now, though, with Trump. So I'm pretty I mean, it's fucked up as this whole year has been nuts beyond belief, like holy shit. But as fucked up as things are and chaotic, I do see some positivity and opportunity. I think this could be a great decade, the 2020s, just like the last 2020 or the last 1920s were the roaring 20s. Hopefully not leading to a, massive economic depression collapse at the end of it,
yeah,
like last time. But I do see some opportunity to do, yeah, real damage against feminism. Make women great again started, 2020, December
mm,
31st, 2019, January 1st, 2020 is when it really took off. Literally the first day of this decade is when it took off. And I think Make Women Great Again is the first massive cultural pushback, significant cultural pushback against feminism that we've seen in decades. And that's
yeah,
why they hated it. It wasn't like some legal thing, like we're going to go, change all the divorce laws instantly in all the states or something, right? It wasn't this political thing they could attack. It was cultural. It was, hey, women should value femininity. Feminism is
hmm,
stupid and it's brainwashed women. Having babies when you're young is biologically sound and perfectly rational for you to do. Putting your children last after a career is a bad idea, probably.
yeah,
At minimum, it's a valid debate we can have. So this actually opened the window and discussion for millions of women. It reached
yeah,
150 million women for free. just because I just
And
watched how Trump worked, and I was like, oh, this will work,
yeah,
and it did.
yeah, and it's amazing. Like I was just having a conversation with the girl, just yesterday. Okay, and because people see that like, oh, make women great again, or confident, and they think, oh yeah, that's got to be. But okay, women want this information. They really
Yeah.
like at the surface level, like to their friends and everything, publicly, they support feminism and all this. But I had a girl that was asking me. She was like, hey. How do I get guys that like to stop ghosting me and start calling me back? And I'm like, okay, well, let's start with this. Like, what do you do? You know, she's like, oh, I have no problem going on dates. I'm like, okay, so obviously guys are interested in you. It's like, well, what did you do on your dates? And she's like,
Right.
what do you mean? I'm like, did they come back with you? Did you go back with them? She's like, oh yeah, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, like, let's start there. And she's like, really? I'm, I'm like, you haven't heard this, like, you haven't heard this information, but she's super interested. Like, she wants to like figure
Yeah.
out how she could actually have a family and have like a long-term relationship with a man. And so
Yeah.
I'm telling her, like, hey, look, you gotta make it hard. You can't just like be sleeping with guys on the first date, right? And
If well, at minimum, if she's doing the same shit over and over again, where else are you gonna expect it to go? She has to do something different, something
right.
fundamentally different. Otherwise, you're gonna get the same, pretty much the same results over and over again. Yeah.
But yeah, but women want this information and they need it
Yeah.
because they don't know. They really don't know like how to be, the
A woman.
what feminine exactly,
Just like
exactly.
men
So
don't know how to be men. Feminism is, it's got fem in it, so it's a focus on women, and we think that. But then in the manosphere, we think that's affected men the most, and maybe it has. It's been very destructive, I think, but it's also been super toxic for women. It's
yeah,
fed them all this bullshit. It's blue pill lies, really, is what feminism is for women. It's all
yeah,
this, this Disney princess bullshit that's unrealistic. It's not healthy for relationship stuff. It's not healthy for your life. Slutting it up on Tinder and getting banged by 30 dudes a year is not good for you. Like,
exactly.
if you
Yeah.
wanna bang me, I'm not gonna stop you, but I don't think it's good for you to do this with dude after dude after dude after dude, and it's
Well,
on them. Like,
yeah.
I didn't make you bang all these dudes. Like,
And they become broken, right? They don't even
yeah.
realize what happens to them. I was talking to another girl and she was just like, I mean, she's basically telling us want to fuck, and I'm like when you get to that point, and you can't actually establish any kind of relationship or connection with people, like where like sex is happening before any kind of meaningful connection, you're
Yep.
you're going to be really like you're in a messed up place. It's going to be really hard for you to make connections with people, and
Yep.
and, and women and men process like the sexual experience differently, and I
Yep.
think that, like you said, feminism is
Yep.
teaching women that they can behave like men
Yes.
and have the kind of relationships that men can have, and they
Yep.
can't handle it. It fucks them up, and
I was
and,
just
and
gonna
they end
say
up,
that.
yeah,
You hit the nail on the head that they're acting like men. Racking up a big partner count is a masculine behavior. It's a
right,
seed spraying, pump and dump, Genghis Khan style thing at a smaller level. It doesn't work for women. It makes them miserable and depressed and broken, basically. For men, it can eventually end up like that, maybe, but I think it's a vastly slower process.
yeah,
It's exponentially slower, or whatever the word for that would be. For women, they just rack up the damage way faster. And men, you can get your heart broken, you can have traumatic experiences, but it tends to be, even when that happens, it tends to be a masculinizing process. You
right,
become a little harder and a little tougher and a little bit more of a mystery to women. What happened to him? What happened here or there? Why does he behave like this? But for women, that's not good. Femininity has to be preserved primarily, not built. And for men, it's the opposite. You don't really preserve your masculinity; you build it as you age as a man and you grow into a man. And you go through life and you get your bumps and bruises, your victories and your wins, and all that, morphs into influences your personality, I think, and who you are as a man. And then women feel that, and then you live your life. You do what you're gonna do. You build a family, or you keep banging girls, or whatever kind of setup you want to do.
yeah,
You
exactly.
mentioned something earlier, by the way. I wanted to comment on that.
Okay,
The unification of the manosphere and stuff over time. So a lot of people see me as a super polarizing figure, and to some degree, that's obviously true. But in other ways, I have a very different side of my personality, especially like behind the scenes and with speakers and being like an actual entrepreneur. And that is actually very diplomatic. And a lot
mhm,
of people don't see that. They look at the surface level of me screaming on Twitter like about whatever, like all caps or something, is to fuck with people. And they take like a very superficial view of like what I do, which is, it is what it is. People are going to do this. But the guys who actually speak at the conference and attend the conference, they see a different side of this. They see the Wizard of Oz and like how I actually do these things. And it's actually it's like a polar opposite of how I behave, and like my public persona, so to speak. Both are legitimate and both have a purpose. And I think a lot of people just don't see that. So I wanted to comment on that. As much as I'm an
Y-
asshole, I can also be a diplomat.
Yeah, I think that's important. Just to like call out some of the elephant in the room as well. Like, within there's different groups. I'm not going to name groups, but even like in the comments in the live stream we're getting here, some people are like, "Oh, why are you speaking at 21 convention?" And it's almost like they're creating these. Like for me, like just to let you guys know, I'm going to reach my concern as a man, like with a platform, is reaching men. you
Mhm.
know People are going to have different disputes. I know there's disputes going on between different, but I'm not going to get involved in that personally. I'm just going to say, okay, where are the opportunities for me to reach men and help men?
Yep.
And you know what I mean? Like, so I don't have any problems on, I'm not going to name call anyone that hasn't personally like affected me. Even then, I'm not going to name call. I'm going to discuss things behind the scenes as gentlemen, and if we have problems, we have problems. But just so you guys know, like, I'm going to speak at 21 convention because hey, this is a great platform for me to reach my audience. A lot of awesome guys are going to be there. Elliot Holes, I don't know if maybe we should talk about the lineup, but I don't know
Yeah.
if Jack going to be there this year. Jack Donovan. I know he was
Jack
there last couple
Donovan,
of years.
he loves it. He's going to be there, but he's not speaking. He just wants to
Okay,
attend. He just wants to take a break and attend. So
awesome, awesome.
he bought a plane ticket and I'm getting his hotel and he's just going to come hang out. I'm going to see if he wants to do a private workshop for guys, not filmed. He did one last year, actually. It was really cool. That wasn't filmed, on being an author, basically. It was badass. There's actually a lot of speakers that end up attending it because he was talking about how he writes. He's a really good
Yeah,
writer, I think, in his
he
books.
is. Yeah,
So he might just do that pro bono on the side, but he won't be speaking, but he'll be there to hang out with guys all 4 days. Yeah,
awesome,
the
awesome.
event is so good that we have speakers come just to hang out. Like,
Yeah,
they're not even speaking, they just wanna be there. So,
yeah, yeah. I'm excited. I mean, I haven't met Jack in person. We've talked a lot
yeah,
online and stuff, shared each other's stuff, and I've
yep,
met Elliot a few times, and I consider Elliot a friend, and
yeah,
so I look at like guys like that, and I'm like, okay, this is a great opportunity to, my mindset is always, who can I get myself around? Like, I want to be around strong men. I want to be around those kind of guys, and so that I think that's like a great reason for you guys, if you're thinking about attending or not. The only way to become a strong man is to be around strong men.
yep,
That's the problem we have in society today. So this is one of those opportunities, because you guys are always bitching at me. You're like, hey, well, where do I find people that have the same mindset? Where do I find people? Well, here you go to 21 convention, go and and mingle over there, listen to some great talks, and meet me in person, meet guys like Elliot Hulse and Jack Donovan, and Anthony here, and that's, I mean, that's going to be a great opportunity. You're not gonna like walk away from it and regret it, right? It's going
yep,
to be one of those experiences where like you make friends, and maybe and hopefully you have some long lasting friendships where you meet some
yeah.
guys that you have something in common with, and you support each other, because you know we don't have support in this world as men. A lot, it's hard to find strong men. I mean, if you I don't know the last time that you hung out with someone and you discuss the kind of politics and stuff that that we hold in common, as strong men, because it's so polarizing. People don't want to hear it. You don't want to, so you don't have a lot of people that are backing up your viewpoint. So
You don't wanna
really,
risk
really important.
losing your job. I mean, these days, like, it's just nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah. On top of all the barbershops and the bowling alleys and cigar things, like, all these masculine kinda gatherings have died out over the past couple decades. Cigar shops, like, one of the last ones left, I guess, but even that's, like, falling apart. And, and a conference like this is basically a resurgence, of, I think, those masculine gatherings that were a lot more common, that today you only pretty much see in movies in America, the old bowling alleys and shit like that, barbershops. So the
yep,
conference is like that, and it's for days, and it's awesome. A lot of the attendees do make friends for years at a time. I know guys that met 10 years ago that still talk. They meet sometimes. They'll meet up when they're in town or whatever. Yeah, it's a very positive experience for men. A lot of positive masculinity. You mentioned
and
too
I
the
like.
meeting
Okay.
strong men, and I just wanted to say that, like, not only I forgot to mention this, but not only is it the different manosphere guys getting together, like some guys are like into the MRA stuff, some guys are like the red pill, some are like MGTOW. They get along really well at the event. In person, it's a lot less internet BS. Everyone's like shaking hands and eye contact. But on top of that, it's a really like the woke left would criticize us, and they have. They called us racist and sexist and all this garbage. But the reality, which is ridiculous, right? Like Elliot Hulse and Steve Williams were shocked to find out they were white supremacists because they're black, because they're fucking black. It's just stupid shit. It's stupid. But what I am saying also is that not only is it a gathering of these different ideas, in terms of manosphere, like tribe thing that you're into or whatever your focus is. It's also a gathering of an amazing gathering of I don't know how to put it, demographics, I guess, races, different generations, different religions. I mean, you will literally see at this conference Christians, Mormons, Baptists, Catholics, atheists, Muslims, Jews,
Yeah.
whatever, like all hanging out together and talking with common values and common interests, getting along. It's unreal. Like you couldn't, the woke left in a million fucking years couldn't put together an event like this because we actually have, we're much more rational, first of all. So we're much, and we have common values that we get along with. So that it's a lot more peacemaking and positive like that. But it's just amazing to see that these different races and religions and stuff get together like that, especially the fatherhood event. That's much more like family oriented and stuff. To see that when I put together the first the patriarch one last year, they were shocked to find out that it was like a fatherhood event. I told them it was actually the fatherhood edition to kind of conceal the name. I was like, I don't think they should be putting patriarch edition up on the hotel billboards in here. It's not going to fly at the
Right.
hotel. We use nice hotels, so I'm like, it's not going to fly. But they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, is it a religious event?" And I'm like, "No, it's a secular event. It's all these different races and religions getting together for fatherhood." And
Uh,
they were like shocked. They're like, "Whoa," because they never even heard of that. You might hear
yeah.
some of that for a Christian meetup or something, but for just Americans or whatever, and even beyond that, we have guys flying from around the world when there's no Corona shit. But to see that for all men and fathers, they're just like these normies, so to speak, are just like shocked. Like, what the
Yep.
fuck? Like that's really interesting because you don't see that anywhere. So.
No, you don't. It's true. Yeah,
So
I really like also like just it's really cool how you've got so many speakers. Like when I was looking through the archives and stuff, that guys that I heard of that I didn't that most people haven't heard of, like Zan Perion, I saw that you had in there, and like
yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah,
got some awesome stuff. Like his
yeah,
book, really, Alabaster Girl, taught me a lot of stuff, and it's not very mainstream. Not a lot of guys know about it. So you've
yeah,
picked some really like cool speakers, Daniel Rose, like Sex God Method,
yep,
and guys like that. And it's like these are like really like
yep,
key things. I forget who it was that I saw where he was talking about. It wasn't John Sin, but it was a guy that was very similar to him, and like that kind of stuff. It's not mainstream. Like you can't
yeah,
find that stuff on YouTube. Most guys don't know about it, but it's really powerful stuff if you're into pickup. Like you need to understand that stuff, and so I thought it was really cool to see just the like you said, that diversity aspects of those diversity of speakers. It's
yep,
like because so much I think in the manosphere today is like an echo chamber of like if you're in one group, you hear the same stuff over and over and over again. And even in the pickup community, right, to some degree, right, RSD kind of dominated that space for such a long time, but their stuff was not actually the best stuff. It was not
yeah,
actually, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was everyone repeated the same stuff. And even guys that
yep,
were not RSD but were in that space, I felt like they were just repeating what they learned from RSD. And so there was not new ideas. There wasn't,
yep,
when you go way back to like you said with the on the mystery forums and like alt fast seduction and stuff like
yeah,
that, it was like
yeah, yeah,
much
yeah. I was
more
I was on
like
these forums,
diverse.
dude. I've
Yeah,
my
yeah,
my entry into the manosphere was alt fast seduction. I googled how to club dance or something. I had to go to a school dance my senior year with this really hot chick. My friend had hooked it up. Like I could never pull it off back then, but she accepted. And I was like, holy shit! I was freaking out. I was like, holy shit, this girl's fucking hot.
yeah,
And so I just Googled that and it pulled up somehow the All Fast Seduction website. And it was a Ross Jeffries who ended up being speaker. It was routines from him and all this bullshit. But I was just fascinated. I'm like, holy shit, look at this. This is like
yeah,
2005. This is
yeah.
September, October 2005. And I'm just like, and it was interesting because that was my first entry into the manosphere. That was 16, 17 years old, just turned 17. And I was shocked that you could basically find this information, this knowledge, and if it was correct, you could apply it. If it worked, you
Mhm.
could apply it to your life and get better with women. That was like mind blowing to me because I'd sucked with girls growing up, middle school and high school, totally like beyond horrible, right? But this
Yeah,
was like this ray of hope, and I was like, something tells me I'm onto something here. Like this is really some of this is probably wrong and stupid, but some of it's probably right. And if I apply this, and I started tinkering with it in school, I would tell girls like, "Oh, I like your nails. Are they real?" And they'd be like, "No, they're fake." And I'm like, "Holy shit, look at this girl. She's freaking." And they would get, these girls are 16, 17 years old at the time because we're all kids.
yeah,
But you could see them getting insecure, and you're like, not that this is not the best way to do things, maybe, but the fact that I could even get an emotional response like that, and these hot girls would be kind of like getting squirrely. I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is magic. As
right,
a kid,
exactly.
yeah, a kid is just like magical. So Long story
Yeah.
short, yeah, manosphere, boom.
Yeah, so it's really cool just to see how, because I think a lot of guys today they don't know the history, right? Because they
Yeah,
weren't there, and it's like, I came from way back in the alt fast seduction forums and all that,
yeah,
and I seen it like where it evolved back from the Ross Jeffries and
yep,
and all of that stuff, and even like I said, the stuff like John Sin stuff, like you don't even find that because it's so controversial.
yeah,
Like, but if you learn that stuff back then you understand how to really like get a girl turned on during a conversation or during when you're out, and that makes a huge difference, and it's like,
yeah,
so yeah, so I like to see that diversity and
yep,
those a lot of the speakers that you have, so that's really cool. So what do
yeah,
what are the main speakers for, maybe we can talk about real quick, just for
yeah.
everyone that's interested in going, like the speakers you have lined up for this year.
The main event. So it's actually a 20-month
Yeah.
summit. It's 3 conferences going on at the same time. First time we've ever done that, and partly I had that in mind anyway long term, but I'm doing it a lot sooner than I thought I would because of Corona. We had to
Yeah.
reschedule
Yeah.
our spring events, which we had 2 already, and then combine it with our 3rd event. So we got 3 events. One is for men, one is for fathers, one is for women. So you're speaking at the one for men,
Mhm.
and that one, obviously, you'll be there, and I'll be there. Elliot Hulse, he's got over 2 million YouTube subscribers,
Yeah.
famous, strongman, but really he's a lot more than that. For years, I was kind of skeptical of especially his more spiritual stuff. But the
Mhm.
more I get to know him and like see how savage this guy is, I really, really enjoy. I get to know him and stuff, and just having him as a speaker. He's an awesome dude, and I
And
talk to him all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's cool. Like also like just like on Elliot real quick, like I have been following for a long time, and he went through like phases, right? It's like what's
Mhm.
cool is like he even went through his phase where he was like even more feminine for some point in time, and he was like wearing
Wow.
earring and like and you watch that, and he went through this phase where he went to this deep catharsis, but then he came out and he's like a stronger man now, and I think that's really cool about him, because it's like, because yeah, I've questioned some of the things and some of the directions he's going, but
Yeah.
it's really the journey of a man, right? It's like you don't just have the shit figured out, right?
Yep.
You go through, you challenge your own beliefs, you come up, you grow, you evolve, and so I think that's what really makes Elliot so cool, is that he's gone through that, and he's not ashamed to, like, you can see his history, and
Yeah.
because of that, he's become a stronger man. But yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
He's done it. He's done it very publicly too. I mean, it's been his journey has been incredible. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
I just remember when I first met him, I was actually fishing with him and a couple of guys, and on the east coast of Florida. Elliot had driven over from St. Pete, Tampa, where he lives.
yeah,
And I just realized the more I talked to him, I'm like, this guy's fucking savage. Like, because I didn't
yeah,
really know what to make of him before I met him. And then I met him, I'm like, we're shark fishing out on the East Coast, like charter fishing. I'm like, the more I talked to him, I'm like, this guy is really, really savage. I'm like, I love it. This is fucking
yeah.
great. Yeah. Anyway, Elliot will be there. Richard Grandin will be there. He's a big YouTuber, about 245,000 subscribers. He focuses on psychology and developmental trauma and CPTSD,
Nice. Okay.
especially from like a toxic relationship. If you dated like a really crazy girl, BPD, shit like that. He's been very influential in my life, and he spoke last year for us, kind of 2018 as well. He ended up not being able to make it, but he filmed a speech anyway at the last minute, and then we published it. It's got like 600,000 views. It's awesome.
Oh wow. Okay.
Anyway, he'll be there. Jesse Lee Peterson, the esteemed Reverend.
Yeah.
He's a big YouTuber. He's amazing. We just got him recently. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been on his show. He's been on mine as well. He's a
nice.
real cool guy. He's
Yeah,
so inflammatory. Like so many
yeah,
people.
I know. I love it.
It's
Yeah,
funny. I'm talking to him. Like I don't agree with 100% of what he's saying, but I agree with like
yeah,
90% of it. So it's like,
yeah,
it's always fun to have a conversation. And I think sometimes he just throws shit out there just to see what kind of just piss people off. But man, he like really gets under the skin, especially against like when he has like woke black people on the show, and
yeah.
they don't know what to make of him. But yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, I've seen some of his videos in the streets too, and he's just talking to younger black people, men and women, and they're just like
Yeah,
so shocked. He's such an older black guy, and I think there's a respect for him for some reason because of that. I don't understand black culture too deep, but they respect his age, and he's a reverend too. But then he says this shit, and they're just so fucking triggered. They don't know what to do. He's
yeah,
like, "Do you love white people?" They're just like, they just fucking lose it. They don't know what
exactly.
to do because they want to
Yeah.
like him. Anyway, he'll be there, and he's a good example too of the we have a pastor coming as well. I haven't announced him yet.
Mhm.
So we have atheists, psychologists, all these speakers, then a reverend and a pastor, and like it's amazing that we all get along. And it's a testament, I think, to the core of the manosphere and like its real I think long-term purpose and stuff. But yeah, it's a good example. So he'll be there. Coach Greg Adams will be there. He's a big
Yep.
up and coming MGTOW YouTuber. I think he would call it the MGTOW, but really I just see him as like awesome manosphere dude. He does great
Mhm.
content. And he's gotten really big. He's got like 150,000 subs now across his
Yeah.
channels.
Yeah. I haven't met him, but I'm interested to meet him. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Pat Stedman will be there. Tanner Guzzi, Steve Brule, Terrence Pop, Socrates, Jack Murphy, Steve Williams, Ivan Throne, Coach EO. It's a lot of guys, and I'm still adding more as we go. I might add
Awesome.
basically. I'm gonna add the pastor today along with you to the page. It should be on there, but been busy. And yeah, we keep adding guys. We'll see if we can add up to the last minute. We have a lot to pull from because we have other speakers speaking at the fatherhood event and the women's event that I don't have yet for the main event, but I could add them. So really, we probably have like 30 speakers attending 21 Summit, and then I'm dividing them into the 3 events, configuring them like a puzzle. Basically, it's
Yep.
pretty complicated, but I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's gonna be badass for the attendees. Yeah,
I really like. Oh, go ahead.
I'd say the VIP attendees too. If they get a VIP ticket, they can go to both the fatherhood and the main event for men interchangeably as they want. So not everyone's gonna be into that, but some guys are, and some guys will do that. They'll hop back and forth, like a park pass for like a theme park, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Yeah. No, that sounds good. Yeah, I really like also. As I was looking through Steve Williams' talk he did last year on mindset. So
yeah,
good, guys. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out on the 21 Convention channel because that does like
yeah.
really good talk. So
Steve actually spoke 3 times last year, so we just have 2 more speeches of him to put out. That was his Florida talk, I think, that went out the
okay,
final
yeah,
fall event. We also have him giving a talk at the fatherhood event, and then the Poland event we did too, our European event last year. So
awesome.
more on the
Let me
way.
see. Got a super chat here from Shannon Wilkerson. Says, I made the mistake of judging one of John's videos and I regret it. Some harsh assumptions about the comedian John. I learned from some reflection. My bad, John. This conference needed for me. Awesome. Appreciate your attitude. I think that's the attitude that you need to have. Thanks for the super chat. And and I'll just post this as a contrast. Like, a lot of guys. It's kind of interesting. I just want to talk about this real quick too, again, because it's so much controversy. But I think it's interesting that so many guys are trying to bully me into not speaking at the 21 convention. Like
Yep.
that to me is like, if I am going to, and I'll just say this for all you guys so that we can stop this in the chat. If you think that if you think I haven't done my homework, and if you think that you are going to bully me and convince me because you don't like me speaking at a place that I'm going to stop doing it, then I'm not the guy you should be following, right? Because as a man, if I'm going to let other people influence and tell me what to do based on shaming or whatever tactics they use, then I wouldn't be a very good man for you to follow and to subscribe to. So you might want to unsubscribe and look for someone who's a little more feminine that will give into your bullying. So
Holy shit. Amen, brother. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of attitude I want the speakers to have. All of them should have that. I mean, the fact that they're trying to bully the Bulldog is kind of funny to me as well.
yeah,
That is amusing. But I see that in the chat. Some of these guys bitching about me and stuff. They can go fuck themselves.
exactly.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about, but yeah, I love what I do. It's amazing. I'm really good at it, and I've become a master of building this kind of event for men and fathers now and stuff because I worked my ass off at it for 14 fucking years. I better be
yeah,
good at it by now. Like holy shit. And yeah, the bullying and stuff though, yeah, it's all this. It's girly behavior. Totally, it's effeminate, like bitchy middle school girl stuff trying to bully you and stuff. Yeah, and the reality is too, all these dudes bitching about stuff. I have a very positive relationship, I'd say, positive to very positive with 99% of alumni speakers, like almost all of them ever
yeah,
for almost a decade and a half. And of course, you have some falling outs and this and that's just part of doing business sometimes for different reasons. I mean, all kinds of shit happens. There's way worse stories outside of the manosphere with business. I mean,
for
you can go
sure.
big, Steve Jobs and stuff and all that, but even beyond that, so yeah, these people, the haters and losers, they can eat shit.
Yep, that's what I think about. So let's see, Alfie Kingdom, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you. You're like always on live stream, giving support. So appreciate that, man. So yeah, so guys, definitely come check it out. I'd love to meet you guys in person and yeah, and shoot the shit with you. And
Yeah.
I'm excited because I just like I want to be around so many of the guys that are going to be there, and I feel like that's great. And being an in-person event, that's super exciting
Yeah.
because there's so few right now. I mean, look, I think this
Yeah.
is a strategy that's happening across the world, is to like to isolate us men, because when men come together in groups, if you read, if you guys haven't read, for sure read Jack Donovan's book, The Way of Men. And
Yes.
he talks about the idea that, like, at the end of it, in fact, his whole like Instagram and his podcast is called Start the World. The end of the book, he talks about this idea of like restarting the world, and he talks about forming gangs of men, and like,
Yes.
and that's important. And so, that's the thing that can overthrow like this kind of bullshit clown world that we're living in, is if
Yep.
gangs of men form and say, hey, we're not going to take this shit,
Yep.
we're the strength. And so I think that we're seeing a big counterculture where some of the powers that are trying to crush this, trying to keep men from coming together and
Yep.
forming these gangs of men. So
Yep. I think even before COVID that was happening, but COVID has massively accelerated that with all these weird draconian Orwellian measures, social distancing, and like stay at home, like stay inside, like we're all gonna die, even though 99.5% or whatever are gonna live if you catch it, like all this crap. It's really weird. This whole year's been nuts. Yeah, the conference industry has been wiped out. I mean, holy shit.
yeah,
Almost every event this year has been canceled. But with Florida, I guess Providence, right? The blessing of the universe or God or whatever. Florida's been pretty good with this stuff, and we're doing our event no problem. I talk to the venue all the time. The only thing we got to do is the meeting room is reduced occupancy, so we can't like pack it out to fire code, and
mhm,
we need to sit 6 feet apart. But other than that, it doesn't really matter. And that's pretty similar. I know that just means 2 people at a table instead of three. Like it doesn't mean jack shit.
yeah,
So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. And
awesome,
yeah, getting together face to face is powerful, man. That's how you like the people. The reason these guys make friendships long term is because they meet face to face. I mean, that just
exactly,
massively accelerates when you shake hands and you guys have cigars and drinks and dinners and stuff. It's like almost a week long, but because guys get in there usually Wednesday night, and then we have a meet and greet for like a bonus to meet the speakers and stuff. And then they're at the conference pretty much all day and night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. Sometimes we do bonus stuff, but I don't know if we'll do that this year. Maybe. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's like 4.5 days, 5 days of getting together and shooting the shit. And there's no censorship, right? Even on the internet, even on YouTube now, there's only so many things we could talk about candidly without risking
exactly,
your channel or whatever getting, hit with a community strike or banned completely, deleted, burned.
yeah,
So at the conference, when the cameras are on, that's kind of a thing too, but the camera's not always on. There's
mhm,
dinners and, all these conversations, even workshops we have built into the conference that speakers just kind of volunteer to do, and they then get to talk to the attendees, a bunch of them, usually 10 to 15 at a time, with no cameras rolling, no audio, no recording. And Jack Donovan did one of those too, for example. He did one at Florida last year in the fall event. He also went to Poland and did a speech there and then a workshop. His workshop was fucking savage because
yeah,
he had like all the attendees there, like most of them for his workshop. And then he was just kind of like kicked back in his chair and just going off, man. And I was
awesome,
like, this is exactly why I wanted the workshop, because he knows there's no recording allowed. We're not
hmm,
recording and we're watching, and everyone, no one's allowed to do any kind of recording. So the speaker can say whatever the fuck they want, and so can the attendee. If it's a
yep,
personal story or whatever, they're not going to get up. It's not going to end up on YouTube, their voice or something, and they tell some story that's personal. Like it then gets 400,000 views listening to it. Like maybe you don't want that if you went through a bad divorce or something, right? Obviously. So there's a lot of power to the event that people don't see on the internet with the speeches, which are cool anyway. But then the conference is like it's a magical experience, right? It's amazing, like Jesse would say.
awesome. All right, guys. So go check it out. bulldogmindset.com/21. Real easy. And if you use that link and you sign up, what I will do, if you're listening to this point, shoot me an email, and I'm going to give you 3 months of Bulldog Mindset membership for free
Nice.
if you do that. So just to reward you guys that made it this far and listened. And yeah, I really hope to see you guys there. I think it's going to be awesome. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on and for putting on the event.
Yeah.
And yeah, um, all right. See you
Last thing,
guys
then
next time. Yeah.
we have a bring a friend free bonus that ends tonight. So any of these guys watching that buy before midnight tonight, I guess the timing is a little bit rushed for them, but they have like I don't know 9 hours or something, 10 hours. They can bring a friend free. No strings attached. You get to bring a friend free to the event, whichever one
Oh,
you go
cool.
to. So that ends
Yeah.
tonight, and they can get that. Yeah, boom.
Awesome. Yeah. Go take advantage of that, guys. All right. Thanks again, Anthony. And
Thank
I
you.
will see you guys later.